Our friends across the aisle are nothing if not courageous. They've got the brazen temerity to raise the question of process after running the most closed Congress in the history of the United States of America, the most closed House of Representatives anyone's ever seen. Let's compare their H.R. 1 when they got started with our H.R. 1. Well, theirs was filed, marked up, and passed in 2 weeks with no hearings, no amendments made in order, and no expert testimony at all. Our H.R. 1 was filed on the first day of the new Congress for all of the public to read. There have been hearings in 5 different committees with over 15 hours of expert testimony, culminating in a full committee markup in House administration. 60 days later, we're now on the floor for consideration in an open and transparent way. So you think they would have the decency not to raise the question of process after running the House of Representatives like King Kong over the last 2 years, but the people who ran it like King Kong now want to turn it into a Quaker meeting house somehow. They should be thanking us for the openness of our proceedings. Their H.R. 1 blew a $1.5 trillion hole in the deficit, a staggering and unprecedented assault on the fiscal integrity of the United States of America to shower tax cuts on the wealthy and well-connected. Our H.R. 1 is an effort to reclaim our democracy from the wealthy and well-connected people who were the beneficiaries of their H.R. 1. By creating a 21st century campaign finance system that responds to the people. On the substance of the matter, it's amazing to me that my colleagues raised the question of the swamp. They got elected 2.5 years ago, campaigning against the swamp. It was a great slogan they borrowed from Nancy Pelosi. They moved to Washington. They moved into the swamp. They built a hotel on it. And they have turned the government of the United States into a money-making operation for the president and the president's family and the president's friends and business associates. Now, what are we doing in H.R. 1? We're trying to reclaim American democracy. This legislation is anti-gerrymandering legislation. This legislation says that every state in the union will have to have an independent redistricting commission. No politicians involved. They want the politicians to be involved. Amazingly, they embrace the title of being the gerrymander party. They want to keep gerrymandering because that's how they maintain their stranglehold on political power. The whole purpose of H.R. 1 is to liberate us from the gerrymandering of our elections. So that's why we start with independent redistricting commissions. We move to publicly financed elections because either the big wealthy special interests to own the elections or else the people are going to own them through a small donor leveraged system. And that's what we're doing. We've got ethics reform in this legislation.
15 seconds.
Oh, 15
seconds.
Gentleman's recognized.
I encourage, Mr. Speaker, everyone to actually read the terms of this landmark reform legislation, which insists upon ethics reform at the Supreme Court, ethics reform in the executive branch, empowering the Office of Government Ethics to have real subpoena power and to actually be able to ferret out the corruption which is engulfing the Trump administration today and to prevent corruption in the future.
Gentleman's time has